everybody, and thanks for joining lesson series, Landmark Cases and Amendment. From slavery through the 1960s. An addition to the United States Constitution that officially abolished slavery. The 13th Amendment, December 6, 1865. An addition to the United States Constitution that addresses citizenship, rights, and equal protection of the laws to all natural-born citizens. 14th Amendment, July 9, 1869. And neither the 13th nor the 14th Amendment empowers Congress to safeguard blacks against the actions of private individuals. To have decided otherwise would have afforded blacks a special status under the law that whites did not enjoy. United States versus Stanley, 1883. Yick Wo versus Hopkins, 1886. That is the first time the Supreme Court ruled that when a law, which as written does not specifically discriminate against any one group, is applied in any way that is racially discriminatory, it violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Palsy versus Ferguson, 1896. The court ruled that the separate but equal provision of private services mandated by state government is constitutional under the Equal Protection Clause. Mayer versus Nebraska, 1923. The court ruled that a 1919 Nebraska law prohibited the teaching of modern foreign languages to grade school children violated the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. The court overturned the conviction of the Scottsboro Boys, 9 black men who were wrongfully convicted of raping a white woman on a freight train in Scottsboro, Alabama, stating that the right to an attorney was essential to a fair trial. Powell versus Alabama, 1932. Shelley versus Kramer, 1948. The court ruled that prohibiting the ownership of property based on race is a violation of the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Board versus Brown of Education, 1954. The court ruled that separate educational facilities are inherently unequal, thus striking down Palsy versus Ferguson, 1896. Hernandez versus Texas, 1954. This was the first Mexican-American civil rights case to make it to the Supreme Court. The court ruled that Mexican Americans and all other racial and national groups in the United States had equal protection under the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Did you know that both Brown versus Board of Education and Hernandez versus Texas received unanimous rulings by the Warren Supreme Court, which means all 9 Supreme Court justices ruled the same way. Brown versus Board 2, 1955. The court held that school systems must abolish their racially dual systems, separate but equal, but that each jurisdiction had different issues and therefore could do so in their own time. Browder versus Gale, 1956. The court upheld the lower court ruling that the segregation of public buses was unconstitutional. 1963. Gideon versus Wainwright. The court ruled that the 6th Amendment right to fundamental right and must be applied to the states via the 14th Amendment's Due Process Clause. It requires that criminal defendants of impoverished means be provided counsel at trial. Gideon did write that letter. The court did look into his case, and the whole course of American legal history has been changed. Robert F. Kennedy. Messiah versus United States and Miranda versus Arizona, 1964 and 1966. The court extended the Sixth Amendment right to counsel rule to apply even during police interrogation, and specifically stating that government or police cannot bypass a defendant's lawyer to speak directly to the defendant. Heart of Atlanta Motel Inc. versus United States and Kat Zensbach versus Mick Klung, 1964. The court upheld that Congress could force private businesses to uphold the Civil Rights Act of 1964 based on Interstate Commerce Clause of the U.S. Constitution. If the business provides services to customers traveling between states, it must adhere to federal law. Loving versus Virginia, 1967. The court ruled that state laws that prohibited interracial marriage were unconstitutional and held that marriage was a fundamental right. I am going to challenge you to answer a couple of these questions, and you can drop your responses in the chat. Just 3 questions. True or false? Number 1. Those who fought against the practice of slavery were called abolitionists. True or false? The founders included slavery in the Declaration of Independence. True or false? Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. both believed that nonviolence was the only path to revolution. True or false? The Civil Rights Movement accomplished the desegregation of public places and schools. True or false? Thank you for joining me for lesson 4, and I'll see you for lesson 5, the modern American Civil Rights Movement.